Erick Gonzalez. How's it going, man?
All right, perfect. What's up, man? Sorry about that. I just had to make sure that was coming out correctly because I didn't want it to be all weird. All right, awesome. What's up, man? How we doing?
No, we're doing good, man. More importantly, how are you doing though?
Hey, you know what? I'm glad to have an actual full camp going into this next fight, but other than that, man, besides my fighting and all that, life is good, man. Everybody's healthy, family's healthy, so I can't complain, man. It's a new year. Got my birthday this month, so I turned 30. So, as good as can be, possibly.
Well, you're making your debut on the Empire Universe Media, so welcome, man. And again, thanks for taking your time to come on here.
Oh, absolutely, man. Thank you guys for having me, man. It's always a pleasure.
I gotta say, this is the first I've actually had a fighter like getting all the camera work going on and the all the blur in the background and get the whole high tech. So I love it.
Oh, dude, I stream on on my free time, just gaming it. So that's why I'm all set up. I have like a freaking ridiculous computer and all this other stuff that I enjoy my hobbies with.
I was afraid you were gonna say that. You had the camera, you had the mic and everything. So I was like, this guy's definitely a gamer when he's not training.
Yeah, it's my it's like my me time, relax time. As far as getting away from the training and all that, keep my mind off something else for once.
So what do you normally game? Like, what do you normally play?
Dude, I'm honestly been stuck on Escape from Tarkov. I don't know if you heard of it.
No, I
It's
haven't.
a real it's a game based out of Europe, Russia, Europe. It's like a realistic military style game. So everything in the game is real, from the guns, the gun parts. When you build a gun, the parts necessary to use the gun, repairing it, healing, all this type of shit. You can break legs, you can bleed heavy, light bleed. So it's like a really realistic military game.
Yeah, since you're MMA fighter and everything, like I'm assuming it's a multiplayer game. Do you have like people that like call you and be like, "Hey, let's fight, let's go"? Like, you get people that are like trash talking on there. Or...
No, man, I actually don't. It's not like a Call of Duty type of style game. It's more survival. So
Oh,
it's not more it's like it's competitive, but it's not based on competitiveness. It's more like surviving and killing some stuff and then getting out and acquiring what you need to make your task happen, or that you have in front of you. Um but when I was playing when I used to play like Call of Duty, Fortnite, and like those type of games, and yeah, I would have some people message me randomly, be like, "Yo, let's run it," or like, let's play against each other. So that was always fun, but I kind of got away from that type of style of games just because I really been enjoying this one pretty heavy.
excellent. Well, let's talk a little bit about your other part of your life when you're training and whatnot. Getting ready for a big fight, UFC 272. Have you started camp yet? And how's that been so far?
Yeah, camp is actually officially started when I found out, which was I want to say like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, like no, like no, last yeah, like 2 weeks ago. I found out, and that's when camp officially started. Because I was on my way to Vegas. I always find out like when I have fights, man. For some reason, I'll be like on my way out of town, and then I get the call. And I'm like, oh well, at least I can drink this weekend. Just enjoy it, and then do my thing. Because I was in Vegas anyways, just relax. And then camp started as soon as I got home on Monday. So back to 2 3 days. 5 days a week, and then the ongoing training schedule that I have. But yeah, man, camp is always it starts as soon as I find out. Especially coming off the tough loss I had, like my last fight in the UFC. So I actually have a full camp as opposed to the short notice of 10 days that they gave me.
Hmm. Well, in other news, I was just gonna say I know I'm a little late to this, but congratulations on the everything with your fiance. And do we have a date yet, or what's going on?
Oh man, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. That's real nice of you. But we don't have a date yet, man. We're aiming for October of next year, of this year, not next year, this year. That's what we're aiming for. But if nothing goes according to plan, I mean, it should. As far as I'm concerned, it's probably going to go to plan by October. But we'll see what happens. Shit could happen during this year or whatever, and then we have to prolong it for whatever reason. But no rush to getting married, man. We're already engaged, so the way I see it is just enjoy the ride, and enjoy the engagement while we can. because I feel like I've seen a lot of people get fucked over or like get their relationship messed up just due to an engagement or whatever, trying to rush everything. When there's no rush, man. I'm only 29 and my fiance is 26, so we got all the time in the world to enjoy each other.
Exactly. But like, let's say, you get a good opportunity, you get a good opponent that, you just can't turn down. Would you have to talk to her and say, hey, listen, I think we need to push it back, or what's the deal?
I mean, if it's career changing, then yeah, man. She knows the deal. I told her this, my fighting and my career is always going to be my first thing in front of me. Especially now that I'm here and I got a foot in the door, why would I not take a chance and set a date back on something like that when it's going to benefit our both of our futures? So she knows the deal. The fiance is really aware of it and how much I love what I do. And she met me before she met me during the middle of my career. So nothing has changed since.
Absolutely. Now, I just want to get to know you here. So let's jump right into it. I understand, you have such a uh, wrestling background in high school, but let's talk a little bit about Gold's Gym and how talk like get me through the whole idea about you getting into MMA and the whole story behind that.
Yeah, man. So like I started wrestling at 13. My brother, I actually wanted to play football, and my brother took me under his wing because he was a wrestler, and he's like, "Hey, man, I really want you to wrestle. I think you'd really like it." Even though I really wanted to play football, so I went for the summer when I was like 13 years old. I went into to South Torrance because that's where I'm from, and I went for the summer. And there was a kid actually my age that had an older brother as well, so we actually ended up like kind of working it out really well. Me and him were the same weight and everything, and we got really good really quick. Shortly after that, I started going to a gym to get to get workouts in, just because I was a young athlete. I was only 13, 14 years old, and so I went to Gold's Gym, man, and I was listening there for about doing what I was doing in there for about 3 months, and then I went upstairs that I've never seen before because I didn't know there was a whole different floor, and I'm like 15 years at the time, I want to say. By then, I saw a little thing called like Triton, kind of like Triton thing. Now they own their actual gym because that's where they first started. And John Marshall was actually the guy that was running it with another guy. I can't remember his name right now. And I stepped into the class, and then I saw like I was just watching from the window at first. Saw a bunch of guys just like hit it like kicking each other, punching, rolling around. And I'm a wrestler, so it just intrigued me. UFC was getting bigger, so I would watch that partially. And then when I went there and took my first official class, I got kicked in the leg, and I just fell in love with it for some reason. I got kicked in the leg so hard by the instructor John Marshall, and I was just like, holy fuck. And and that's when I started learning some like barely really basic jujitsu, man. And I got like hooked on the sport, man, from wrestling. The one-on-one, the hand-to-hand combat, and taking another guy out and just being an alpha, that feeling, because I grew up getting picked on a lot as a kid. So when I got that feeling of that rush of just like being dominant, it just kind of like it grew on me really heavy. And after that, man, I was like in and out of MMA at 15. I would get in a lot of fights out of school. Uh, and that kind of got me hooked, and I didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do with myself after I graduated in high school. I was really confused, partying a lot. Didn't like going to, didn't want to. I went to like automotive tech school for like a year. Didn't even finish it because just did not like it, man. It just wasn't for me. And even though I was good at the electricianal part, I just wasn't for me, and I couldn't see myself doing it for the rest of my life. And I signed myself up for MMA at like 20. Went a whole year amateur. Went 6-1. My first three fights were like without a coach, and then I got a coach, which was Ian Harris now currently, and who's still my coach, my primary coach. And man, yeah, kind of like the rest just kind of went on and on. And the more I got into it, the more I got hooked. And but yeah, man, I don't think if I got into wrestling, I would have never enjoyed MMA the way I do.
Well, I mean, you kind of talk about how you watched a little bit of UFC and whatnot. So being at that time around that age, I think that's, if I'm lining up with your age, you being 29, I think that's kind of around the time where UFC really came in full swing. And that's when, McGregor era kind of just before he got in, that's when UFC was really becoming mainstream and really getting popular.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any fighters that you watched that you really looked up to or that inspire you?
Uh, yeah, I really liked what's his name? Uh, why can't I get his name right now? He just fought. I think it was. He's a 145 or 155er. He lost against Ortega one of his fights when he got put down. I forget his name right
Frankie
now. He's
Edgar.
an old fighter. Huh?
Frankie Edgar.
Frankie Edgar.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it was. I was thinking, I was like, I was Frank something, but I couldn't think of the last name. For Frank Edgar, yeah, man, actually, he was one of my favorite ones, man, because he would go up and down weights, didn't care who he fought, how much bigger they were. So I really looked up to him. And the fight that actually got me more into wanting to be a fighter was like the heart that of this fight was the Stephan Bonner versus the Forrest Griffin.
Hmm.
When they got their contract, both of them after their fight. And I think that that was one of the fights. And watching Forrest Griffin was probably another guy that I really, really enjoyed watching as when I was growing up. Chuck Liddell, more Tito. Actually, I really enjoyed Real Tito Ortiz. But those guys like that, man, just their drive and their heart and like wanting to fight and being in the fight, making it so fun for the fans, like the people watching around them is what got me more hooked on the thing. When I would wrestle, I would always like pick guys up and just slam the shit out of them just because it was like it looked dope from the outside perspective, and then and I felt like a badass doing it. So you know, I would say that's what got me more hooked on that on UFC more and wanting to do it because I knew I had a big heart and I'm not one to give up, so it kind of like went hand in hand in my head.
And there's another thing I don't know. It's your nickname. I want to know, like, how did you pick the ghost pepper? Do you have like an embarrassing story? You ate a ghost pepper one time and everyone's hazing you for it, or like what's going on there?
Yeah, that's actually how I got it, man. I used to run a restaurant, believe it or not, with my mom. Ran it for about 3 years, like a vegan Mexican spot. And one day I was with my uncle, my mom, and a business partner of ours that was helping us with our business. And they were sitting there eating, and my uncle came in with some ghost peppers, what I thought were regular peppers, because I didn't know what the fuck a ghost pepper was at the time. And I used to like salsa. I love heavy spices. You know what I mean? I love it. If I go to a restaurant, I see something spicy, I'll try it out or whatever. But yeah, man. So I guess he had heated them up and everything, and it was just chill. It was all roasted, and my uncle was laughing at me. He's like, "You're not gonna eat that pepper," just kind of like egging me on. And I just grabbed that shit and I bit the whole thing just to prove a point. And it was a fucking ghost pepper, man. And it fucking murked my shit, dude. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I got the hiccups. I was sweating. My face turned red. I literally ran into the fucking restaurant kitchen, dude, grabbed everything I could that I was like liquids because I didn't know how to stop it. And I just started drinking, dude. And my uncle was just dying of laughter. And everybody, like my mom. So then the business partner the next day, he knew that I was still fighting because I was training full time still in the mornings, then getting out of training by 11, getting to the restaurant by 11:30, 12. And then I'd work the rest of the day till 11 o'clock at night. And then it would be like the same schedule for about 2 years, I want to say. Uh, he was like, "Hey man, like, have you thought of your nickname as a fighter?" Because at the time, I did not look like a fighter, man. I had highlights. I looked like a pretty boy. I was I looked like a kind of like if you see me in the street, you're like, "Oh, I would whoop his ass," you know. And he was just like, you don't look like much of a fighter, but so you think you need something that's gonna, fit. People are gonna like grasp it. They're gonna like it, and and you can market it. And this is a huge business guy who's very successful. And he's like, you should name yourself the Ghost Pepper because he was there when it happened. And I had thought of a bunch of names, like the Young Punisher, the Reaper, because I have the Grim Reaper tatted on me. And I actually like when he said it, I was just like, hey, that's actually not a bad fucking nickname. I'm like, sounds pretty cool, and you can, confuse it for so many different things, food, spiciness, whatever, so like anything along those topics or genre in general. So it kind of just stuck with me, man. And I called myself, the Ghost Pepper, and it kind of stuck, and everybody really loved it. And I've always had positive feedback about it. But yeah, man, literally that pepper almost killed me. So I like to think of it when I fight. It's like, when people take a punch at me or take a jab at me, I'm gonna come back, kicking back and spicy. I'm gonna come back hot.
I think it'd be really iconic if you like went on the like hot ones. I don't know if you watched it on YouTube. I think
I
Derek Lee.
do. I do. It's where they eat a bunch of hot sauces, right?
Mhm.
All the levels to it. Yeah, I really want to do that, man. I think I need to get this win, man, and I'm pretty sure I can get myself into YouTube stuff like that, getting into that kind of like because ideally I really want to get into that kind of stuff. And then that's like right up my alley, dude. I'll probably die, but it'll be worth it. It'll be fun.
Mhm. Now, fast forwarding to 2015, at what point did you know you're ready for the pro scene?
Um, you know, I think I was like, I was undefeated at the time, I think, if I'm not mistaken, when I went, before I went to the pros. No, no, no. Can't remember off the top of my head. But, the actually was the point. It was, the point when my buddy, Albert Morales, old UFC veteran. I don't know if you heard of him, the Warrior. Uh, he's actually a close friend of mine. And when he went pro that year, I think either that year, yeah, that year, and then I went, pro right after him. He was just like, "Hey man, you gotta stop fighting all these chumps." We had like a really long conversation. He's like, "You gotta stop fighting all these chumps," and he's like, "I'm gonna go pro. Like, you should go pro with me." And I just kind of sat on it, and then I just went up to my coach the next day, and I was just like, "Hey man, like, what would you think about me going pro?" And he was just like super forward. He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." He's like, "Just keep training. We're gonna keep doing what you're doing, and then let's see where this goes." Because my ultimate goal was to eventually hit UFC, man. And but that was actually the deciding factor, man, was my buddy Albert Morales, because he's just like, I saw him grow pro and we started fighting around the same time. And then he's like telling me, kind of like egging me on to do it. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go do it then. And then I did it, dude. So it was kind of like an impulse kind of decision more than like a coach student decision more than anything else.
Well, and then later in your career, you're 13-5, you get the call to the UFC. What was your first initial reaction? And did you have a feeling like, did you and your management know a call was coming, or where were you at that time?
I was actually sitting on this desk, man. I had just got back from training. I was gaming it. And then when I got the call from my manager, and he had told me, he's like, we had already expected it. We were already expecting a call. He had told me, he's like, "Hey man, like, UFC just really wants you to come off a win." And that's when he first told me that. I was a year before that, and it was after my Peru tournament that I had, where I had 3 fights in one night. Um, and I didn't win the last one, unfortunately. So for some reason, UFC didn't want to pick me up because I was coming off a loss. So he's like, "Hey, let's just get like 2 wins this year, win these fights, and then we'll get UFC before the end of the year." So it was like our plan. It was on our quota. We were going to do this. We were set in stone. I thought I would get picked up a little bit a couple years before that, but everything happens for a reason. I wouldn't have been able to fight, a veteran like Jim Miller. So, and learn as much as I did. Uh, but yeah, man, everything was expected and it just played out exactly how I wanted to. I've had set some pretty decent goals for myself, and reaching that UFC goal before 30 was one of them, and I did. So everything has always been kind of like a plan that we set out, and it's always fell through. As long as I train hard and be 100% into the fight, no matter what.
hmm Well, and looking at that fight with Jim Miller, rewinding here, I mean, I know it was like kind of shorter notice,
Mhm.
but I mean, the fight was really going your way, up to the knockout, obviously. What are what are the positives you can take out of that fight, and what are the biggest things that you've learned having to fight a long time UFC veteran like Jim Miller?
The positive things is that I've experienced the worst possible outcome in UFC. Not every debuter wants to come out and get knocked out like that, especially against a veteran. And I got to fight a veteran who had the most experience in the octagon, and I really held my own. A lot of people thought he was just going to go in there and take me to the ground and out grapple me, but I took the first takedown. And kept him there, and he, even though he took me down, I got up. And a lot of people were talking about the fact that I'm a blue belt, which really has nothing to do with anything. It's MMA, not a jiu-jitsu, BJJ match. So, the positives were, was that, man, I got to fight a veteran with the most experience. So, I know how to expect the situation a little differently next time, because I think I was a little bit too energetic and I was fighting more with anger than my actual relaxed self of that I usually am. And I think that it was the energy of having that debut that got to me, you know, and the as far as all that went, you know what I mean? I can't experience anything worse, so. And then the second part of the question, what was that again? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess learn like what was the biggest thing that you learned? Uh, I think you kind of answered both questions
Yeah,
in.
yeah. Okay.
But yeah, and then looking at your next fight with Devonte Smith, UFC 272. Did you want to fight earlier, or is this just the perfect time, or what was your timeline like?
No, man, I'm trying to fight. I recovered for about a month and a half, 2 months after that knockout. Um, and then I went right back to the gym, you know. So I told my manager and I told my coach, I was like, "Yo, man, I really want to start. I want to get another fight by March. You know, I'm already training, so I was training December. So I was already pretty much I'm already back in shape. You know what I'm saying? And currently, and I'm just training nonstop still. Just because, man, I'm trying to stay active as possible. You know, I turned 30 this month, and I want to at least, you know, I want to get to a title fight eventually in my along path of my career. So you know, the more fights I have, the more I get paid. So you know, we got to get paid as fighters. So if I'm not fighting, I'm not making money. So I'm ready to get in there, man. And as soon as possible, like I told my manager and my coach, and here we are, man. I get the March 5th. I asked to be on the Alex and Volkanovski card, which was originally the headline for this, and they gave it to me. I think that shows a lot that about UFC. You know, interesting thing that I someone was saying to me. They were like, "Hey, man, you know, if they're putting you on a pay per view even after you took a loss, you know, that says something a lot about you know what they're trying to test you. They're trying to see if you're going to be a draw because I was a draw for Combate Global. I was a draw for previous other uh, promotions that I was fighting for. You know, and I think that it's true, man. They're just trying to give me a test, and they gave me a knockout artist like Devonte. Um, you know, whether they think he's gonna knock me out or not doesn't really matter to me. You know, but considering that my first time ever being knocked out was my last fight ever in my career. I've never been dazed. I've never been TKO'd. I've never been knocked out as far as those things are concerned. And to face a guy like that, it's going to be interesting. And I think that it's going to be a really really fair matchup. I think he's going to be very surprised about how I will be coming out this fight as far as striking wise. You know, because there's a lot of things that I've been touching up on and focusing on and keeping myself more calm under certain situations. And he's going to be a very fair matchup for me, in my opinion.
Well, in looking at this guy, you've already kind of talked a little bit about who he is and whatnot. So when they offered you the fight, did you know his name? Did you know who he was?
I actually did not know who he was actually. But I did see him fight. I didn't know that it was when I went back and looked at his record, I was like, "Oh, dude, I've seen this guy fight. I thought he was pretty dope." You know, I was actually a fan, you know, like of him himself, you know, like to go in there and just knock guys out is just and have an impressive record the way he does. It's awesome, man. Much respect to him. And but I know I didn't actually wasn't aware of him. I wasn't too big on that. On his actual name himself until I looked him up, and then I realized that I've seen him before just because I watch every weekend of UFC when they're on.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, you kind of already talked a little bit about the matchup. You saying, in your opinion, it's a pretty fair matchup. But what is it that makes you such a dangerous fight for him?
Um, I think that the style that I present, and being a, I've always been known for being a bully and like going in there, eating punches and just walking forward. You know, it's going to be a very similar style, but not quite like that. You know, I want to take the least amount of damage possible because I do want to, you know, I am thinking about the future of my brain and all that as well as much as the fight. Um, but you know, I think that my pressure and and my persistence of walking forward and keeping him on his back foot is really going to throw him off guard. I know he likes fighting forward. He's not very comfortable coming off his back foot, and you know, I think that that's going to be a big advantage for me, man. And I think that as far as when the ground hits, I think that I'm going to have a huge advantage. You know, nobody really takes this guy to the ground. Nobody really keeps him there, and I'm a very annoying fighter to get off of you, especially because I like throwing elbows, I like hurting people, I like making you bleed and all that. And I'm not one to go for submissions too often. You know, I've only had like two in my career as a pro, but you know, I am a submission, you know, grappler as well. I love submitting guys. Um, but I think that stylistically, man, he's just very forward and backwards, and I'm very versatile. I can go any direction. I can switch stances, and I can come back with the opposite punch, and it's going to be just as strong as my non-dominant hand, and that usually throws guys off. You know, I fought guys like him in my past, and you know, they usually last about a round and a half or a round in general with the with the pressure that I put on before they start to fade out. And I think that he's gonna have a lot of trouble trying to trying to get his hands on me with the power punch because that's usually what he depends on is that right hand.
And prediction?
Prediction: I think I'll finish him in the second round. TKO is my going to be my guess. It's going to be probably on the ground with the ground and pound.
And looking at your weight cut, what's your weight cut normally like? And what's how much weight do you normally cut from camp up to that week of the fight?
From camp, I'm usually cutting 20 pounds, 20, 25 pounds tops. Uh, but for this camp, only maybe cutting about 20 pounds, which is really nothing. Usually by the day before Sunday, before fight week, I'm already at 167, 166. So then by the time I actually start cutting weight, I usually use about 6 to 7 pounds of water, which is absolutely nothing. If you know about weight cuts, it's really nothing. And compared to this last fight where I had to lose a little bit over 24 pounds in 9 days because of the day before weigh-ins.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like that was a harder weight cut? Like, I guess was that a really harsher weight cut, or did it affect you by any means? Do you feel like it did it at any point?
Uh, Yeah, no, absolutely. It didn't affect my cardio, my endurance, just because that's something that I'm so key on when I train. I love to have cardio, I love to have endurance, just because that's gonna make the fight last a lot longer and you're gonna be able to dominate more. But no, man, the weight had a huge, huge toll on me, man. I'm not used to not having energy the week of the fight. So I would train for about like 5 minutes, dude, and I feel like I was lightheaded. I couldn't stand up correctly. So I had a lot of hardships throughout the weight cut. My body stopped cutting weight the day before. I only was able to cut 6 pounds, and then I had to cut another 5 pounds or 6 pounds, I think it was, the next day. No, it was 4 or 5 pounds the next day. So I woke up at 6:30, and I had to take 2 melatonins just to go to sleep because my heart rate was so high up after cutting weight, and my body had just shut down. So the next day I woke up at 6:30, and I got to UFC PI at a little bit under. No, I woke up at 6 o'clock, got to the UFC PI by 6:30, and then we were there till 8 o'clock, 8:30 almost, and I finally cut all the weight. And I couldn't walk by myself at first. I sat there for a while before I can get up and just get the energy to get to the weigh-in. So when I got into the weigh-ins and weighed in, man, you could just see the look and expression on my face where I'm just like exhaling, like just fucking happy this is over. And it did phase me through the fight, man. I think the recovery time wasn't enough for me, particularly because of how much weight I cut. But I knew me, coach, and I both knew that that would affect me, and I just didn't think that I would get dazed every time I'd get hit, and it was not a familiar feeling, and I held it off pretty well. But going to the second round, I just wasn't all there in my head. I just wasn't reacting the same, wasn't being the same fighter that I was right when I first started.
But now having a full camp, I think you must be excited just being able to show the UFC what you can do with a full camp in a proper weight cut.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think that I'll shock a lot of people. I think that I have a feeling that I'm going to be the huge underdog in this card, considering that the guy's a knockout artist and majority of his finishes are with TKOs, KOs. I think that people will be shocked, and this underdog thing has always been a kind of thing in my career, and I've always proved a lot of people wrong. So I'm just, I'm on the biggest stage in the world now, and just to prove many more people that I'm capable of being one of the best fighters in the world. And it's going to start off with this guy. If I didn't, fortunately, like I said, Matt didn't have the best start with Jim Miller, but I'll turn it around and get these next 3 wins and be the entertaining fighter that I've always been.
Well, and kind of rewinding here, I mean, you being the underdog, at least you're going to win some of your friends some money. So,
Yeah, I had actually a lot of people that put money on me, man. I felt terrible, dude, but it's part of the game, man. You bet it. Gambling's it's a big if, like either you win or you don't, and it's like, so the fact that my buddies were just even put money down on me is that's not a shocker, man. I have so many people that have put money on me, have won a lot of money on me, and have this last one was kind of a big loss for some of my buddies, but they make bank, bro, and they bankrollers, so they don't really trip on some of the money they lose, especially on gambling bets.
absolutely. I think this is a common thing that I think fighters do get into. A lot of fighters like to be on those big cards because that's where the big paydays are going to be. I mean, you're going to be on a huge card. I think it's safe to say Masvidal and Covington. It's gonna be a big fight. I think it's gonna be a lot of eyes on that card. Is it kind of bittersweet the fact that yeah, you're gonna be on a great card and you get a lot of attention, but the fact that you got a lot of big fights on there, so there's a lot of competition for those bonuses.
Dude, you know what? Yeah, there's gonna be a lot. No, you're absolutely right. It's gonna be tougher to get a bonus, but I think that I just do what I do, man. I try not to focus too much on the bonuses, you know. I feel like if I focus too much on the bonus, I'll make mistakes because I'm trying to go for that fucking crazy finish or whatever. I'm gonna go and do what I do, and I'm just gonna make it a fashionable statement, you know, more than a bonus statement. I want it to be something that's gonna be very, very enjoyable to watch for the people. And it's going to make people be like, dude, that feels badass. And I think the fact that there's more people watching this is going to be a bit bigger, the biggest benefactor for me or any of these fighters that are in the preliminaries, like myself, to make a name for yourself, you know? And I just want to get that mic afterwards and be able to talk to that post win. You know what I'm saying? That's what I really want. And I want the win more than anything else. The bonus, if it comes, it comes.
Absolutely. And what's an ideal 2022 for the Ghost Pepper?
I want to knock out these next three fights before the end of this year and re-sign with UFC and get a bigger contract, man, or get another contract. And but I really just want to get these next wins first. You know, that's the first goal. And after that, we could talk about the next contract and get re-signed in with the UFC, make this a longevity term type of job, not just four fight contract and you're out because you didn't do good enough. You know, I'm going for longevity. I'm looking to be a superstar eventually in the future, and it'll come with time and it'll come with patience.
Excellent. And your thoughts on this weekend? You got Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane. I mean, this is a great matchup. Who do you have, man?
I actually have Francis on this one, man. Got everybody's going for Cyril. You know, I think like 80-90% of the people that aren't going for Gane, and I get it, man. The guy's a fucking he's so skillful with his work. He's so technical. He's very agile for how big he is. And they were sparring partners before, but I think they both know what to expect from each other. And I think Francis will come out a little differently, not the same sparring partner that they used to be. And I think that'll make things a little bit more interesting for Gane, in my opinion. Cyril is he's good at dealing with guys like Francis, but I think that Francis already knows what he's dealing with, so it's going to make it easier for him to move around in an odd way if he unless he sticks to the same way he does. But I just think that Francis will change it up a little bit and surprise him, and I think that's gonna throw off Gane.
And and your thoughts on the other matchup? I mean, you got like the trilogy there. You got Moreno and Figueiredo 3. I mean, that's another great fight.
I have Moreno, man. I'm a
That's the
Mexican,
baby.
so at heart. I'm Mexican at heart, man. So I gotta go for Moreno. I actually had Moreno winning the first fight too, which he lost, right? If I'm not mistaken, it was Moreno lost the first one,
I think it was he would have
or it
lost
was a draw.
there. Yeah, I think he would have lost if there was not those groin shots.
Yeah, that's what it was. A draw. That's what it was. Um, I think that Miranda's going to go in there and do the exact same thing, man. He pieced him up in that second fight, and then he submitted him in his own game. So it's just like I don't think he'll come out with anything differently besides being more patient or being maybe more active with his hands against Moreno, because I don't think he was active enough with his hands. I think Moreno was just putting it on him, and every time he would swing it, it was always a counter. And I think it'll be definitely a more interesting matchup now because Figueredo has a lot more to prove now, considering that he got submitted and he got outstriked in the last fight. So I think he's definitely going to be more focused, and it's going to create a great freaking war for this next one for sure.
Well, in seeing a lot of these champions coming out in the last year, I mean, 2021 was a crazy year. I mean, you had Moreno who was cut by the UFC and then came back into the UFC and won the belt. I mean, convincingly. And then you have the old man. I think I'm trying to think the light heavyweight champ there. He's like
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking
Glover
about. He
Teixeira.
just Yeah, Glover
Like
Teixeira, who just
guy's 43 years old and won the belt. Like it was unbelievable, and he's fought for such a long time, and it finally happened. So, looking at his fighter's perspective, I mean, does that kind of like? Do you think that does a lot for the UFC and does a lot for the sport just to show that you never give up?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, for sure, without a doubt. that does do a lot. I think that it proves a lot, man. I think it's a lot of mental thing and taking care of yourself as you get older. And I think that Glover does that, and that's why he's able to compete at a high level still. He's obviously not the fucking fastest guy in the world, but he's got technique and he's got, veteran knowledge, and that sometimes takes you a lot longer, considering what happened to me against a veteran, knowledge and that experience could take you a long way. And I think this says a lot for the guys that are getting older, that they can still do it as long as they haven't taken too much crazy damage on their way up to the top.
100%. You said it all, man. I just want to say it's a pleasure having you on here, Erick. I appreciate you taking your time to come on the media here, and I hope to have you back on here. It was fun, man.
Oh, dude, no, man, I'd love to come back, man, and I appreciate you having me on the show again, man. Nothing but love, and can't wait to be back as well.
Well, good luck with your fight at UFC 272 and get that win, and we'll have you back on, man.
All right, brother. Take it easy, man. Thank you so much.